severe thunderstorm warning for portions of Wind Parish out now. Now this storm is a tornado possible storm, so this means we could get a second tornado forming off this area shaded in this yellow box. You can see right down there, that's where they're watching for potential rotation. So this storm will likely continue to spin up, and this could produce a second tornado following a very similar path as this first one. So if you are in the Wind Parish area, you'll definitely want to stay on guard as we are continuing to follow that second storm. But as we talk about the current storm on radar right now, we've got this storm just southeast of a wind field. It's currently right there, as you can see right now on Doppler 8 radar. We're currently watching it for the potential for rotation. It does have a potential tornado on that. So if you are anywhere in Wind Parish, moving into Caldwell Parish as well, you'll definitely want to stay on guard as we are going to see this strong storm continue to push through your area. So as we put a track on things and get the latest information on where this storm is moving towards, we're talking about Sardis Church at 2:51 p.m., 2:57 at Kelly, 3:03 for Clarks, and then about 3:07 for Grayson, and 3:13 for Columbia. Caldwell Parish about 3:16. So make sure you're prepared and make sure that you are going to have a safe place in mind as this tornado continues to move through our area, this possible tornado. And just as a reminder, like we mentioned before, we still have a tornado watch, a particularly dangerous situation, which is quite rare for the Storm Prediction Center to issue. So more stronger storms are expected as we go throughout the rest of the day. And as I'm looking at a wider view, we're continuing to watch the threat move into our region from the north and the west. The greatest storms that I've noticed are coming from the south and west near southeast Texas. That's where some of the stronger storms are located. They've seen multiple tornado warnings today through that portion of the area. So that's where we're going to keep an eye on as those stronger storms continue to develop and push into our region. So Marcus, do you have anything to add to that?
Well, I just want to touch on that. You'll notice again, things are still fairly quiet across eastern portions of our viewing area, but this is the area where we could start to see some of these individual storms either move into or develop. And when they're by themselves, that's when they have the greatest chance to rotate and spin. When we have them more in the line, it's a lot going on, so it makes it a little harder for storms to spin up. So again, areas that are quiet now, and again, we're noticing that with some of the individual cells that are pushing into our region, we are noticing that them by themselves, they have the greatest risk for rotation and spinning versus storms that are more or less in a line that have a lot more interaction going on in the atmosphere. I do want to give you an update on that tornado warning. They have decreased the size of that warning, which is good news. So we're starting to see a little bit less of rotation with that. So we'll likely have to keep watching this storm system. But at last check, we still have this warning that stays active. We also have a severe thunderstorm warning, as Abby mentioned just a few moments ago. This storm has a possible tornado threat with it as well, and it's traveling more or less along the same path as that first tornado warned storm. So while things are quieter for you in Atlanta, for instance, keep your guard up because you are technically under that severe thunderstorm warning. And this storm itself is continuing to track to the north and east. Now, when we look at that warning again, this warning is scheduled to expire at 2:45 p.m. But the good news about this, it has decreased in size. It still is out there, so the threat for severe weather is there, but the storm itself has a little less structure with it. And when we take a look at the rotation associated with this storm, it's not as pronounced. We are still seeing some green and some red close together, but the rotation is not as pronounced. It's not as strong. So that is definitely good news. Still keep your guard up. Still, if you're in these areas, make sure you are in your safe place now, so that way you can be protected as much as possible from this storm system. But before I turn it back over to Abby again, we were looking at that area for a sign of rotation, but the latest scan has shifted things to the east. And as we look at satellite and radar, we're still dealing with a larger storm system moving through, keeping severe weather in the forecast. I'll turn it back over to meteorologist Abby Ezel.
Okay, like Marcus has been saying, the storm continues to weaken, and the National Weather Service is beginning to agree with that. So this current tornado warning will likely not continue into portions of Caldwell Parish, but it still will be likely on the stronger side as it begins to enter that parish. So still stay on guard. They're likely going to continue with this warning for the next few minutes before it is expired as it continues to move off towards the north and the east. So the main threat right now is this storm, like Marcus was mentioning, just towards the south of that, taking a very similar track and possibly having a tornado signature on that. So as we take a closer look at this storm, not really seeing too much in the way of rotation on it right now, but there still looks to be maybe the possibility of a stronger cell inside of that. So that is something we're going to continue to watch. But as for the current tornado warning we have been tracking, they're likely going to let that storm expire over the next few minutes as the National Weather Service has caught on to that storm continuing to weaken.
And as we keep talking about that particular system, we are noticing even as it continues to weaken, we're still dealing with very heavy rain. So if you're hearing the rain hammer your home, really battering your home, that's because we have a lot of moisture with these thunderstorms that are rolling through. But again, just to reiterate, the time now is 2:45 p.m. So we have another 15 minutes or so with this warning, but fortunately, it looks like the rotation with this system is weakening. If it continues to weaken, we may get off the air before that tornado warning officially expires, but we'll be watching here at the station. And as we mentioned, we're tracking another severe thunderstorm that has a possible tornado with it. So we'll keep monitoring these systems as well. But as of now, this first tornado warning is looking much better for us in terms of the rotation not as pronounced and weakening. So that's definitely a good thing, but we still want to keep an eye on what's happening. I also want to point out too what's going on again with the rotation. Again, we're still seeing some greens and some reds close together. It's not as compact, but we still have that rotation out there. And on a wider view, we're looking at the largest storm system as it continues to push across the region. We're expecting more wet weather, more stormy weather over the next several hours. Here's a look at the latest alerts that are out there. Pretty much everyone in our viewing area under a tornado watch, with the exception of Union County in southern Arkansas. And that's because they're dealing with rain showers right now. They're already cooler. They're behind the leading edge of the stormy weather, so they'll likely see wet weather for the next few hours, but overall the weather should be a little less severe for them. Everyone else, we're still dealing with the threat for severe weather. Again, we mentioned this already. We showed you the SPC outlook. It has us under a moderate risk for pretty much all of the viewing area. So that means severe weather is on the way. And it looks like we have an update on that tornado warning. It looks like they have canceled it, which is great news. So what we'll do now is we'll send you back to your regular programming, but we'll jump back on just in case we have any more alerts, any more warnings issued for our region.
This has been a KNOE 8 News Severe Weather Alert.